again, if you haven't heard, or maybe I have not mentioned it, I will make it different days every 3 to 4 weeks, and I have office hours. Just contact me if you want to have a conversation or have questions. So this lecture, I plan on being maybe 20 minutes. And as you can see, we don't do lectures every single time. This lecture, as any lecture that I do, I'm just showing this here for now because I actually forgot I did this because I did this for 3 classes. The NCLEX lecture review. Later on in the course, I'll probably just do some practice questions. I won't mark you wrong, of course. They're just more for practice to get a little bit more familiar with what the NCLEX questions are. So please, what I want to say at the beginning of this is when I'm posting these lectures, I can take test questions from these lectures and put them on a quiz or a test. Of course, I don't do in this class, I used to, a study guide. I don't do that anymore because I feel that, I mean, I could go into a whole explanation, but I don't want to keep you too long. There was a lot of just unfortunate, not proper maybe studying. I felt I was giving a little bit too much away, and I really don't want to do that because, again, I don't want to set you up for sabotage or self-sabotage or potential failure of really understanding how, so right now the lecture's starting, of how difficult a nursing program is. Now, that is not to discourage, so this is a lecture. We will be talking about what the NCLEX is, of course, as well. But before we do that, I really want to say this, and I say this, it's on my agenda, my objectives, and I said this the last time I taught this class, how important it is to understand that you are taking multiple classes. You're taking clinical, you're doing so much, and I will in another lecture explain the day in the life of a nursing student. Pretty much, it pretty much is the same no matter where you take it, depending if it's Mission, if it's De Anza, if it's a BSN. It may look a little different, of course, in the tools we use and the books and whatnot, but the standard way of doing it is pretty much the same. So I will be doing a lecture on that a little bit later. What I do want to mention, if you're not able to make it tonight, is that you'll notice that, and my apologies if I said this in the other lecture video down here, is that how I like to do this class is in 3 sections. So we kind of start off, I don't want to say easy, but it's kind of who are you? How do you study? Kind of self-reflection. And then we kind of go more into okay, we're going to look into more of, I'm not going to say it gets harder, but it does. I have 3 sections. And we talk about calculations, and please note that this is not a calculations class. However, we will be going over them. I added the assignments. They're somewhere here. I promise. Right here. And I will be adding more, but this is part 1. But this is not what it's for. What bootcamp is really about is to provide information in a way of, hey, this is what it's going to be like in nursing school. It's not easy. It's definitely manageable. And me trying to convey those skills as well. But again, this is not that long, or it's only 1 unit, maybe 2, and we do the best that we can, but we don't, or we try, or at least I really try to stick to, if you have a 2-unit class, I'm giving you 2 units of the amount of work, right? So I will do my very best, but math, I think it's 105. That's what will really teach you calculations. I'm going to give you the foundation. They do also in the nursing program too. That's a part of what they're supposed to do in the skills class in the beginning, but anyway, don't want to confuse you too much. That's why we have, again, email, Canvas, my text message, if you want to set up a Zoom meeting, if you want to set up a phone call, all of that. Okay, so you'll notice that things are going to start getting a little more academic now. Not that it wasn't before, but it was more of who are you and kind of looking in self-reflection. Okay, now we'll move on to the NCLEX lecture, which is fairly short. Like I said, this won't be a very long lecture. And you have the lecture down here, which I find very important because if you don't know what the NCLEX is, I'm sure you've all heard of a test that you have to take after you do nursing school. So you need to pass, let's say you go to the LVN program. You need to pass the program. If you went to RN school, you have to pass the program, and then you take a certain test. And that is for your license, getting your license in order to practice in that scope of practice in whichever one you go in. So, for example, if you are taking your test to become an LVN, that is LVN test. If it's RN, it doesn't matter if you have an associate's or bachelor's. It's the same thing, if you will. I'm not saying you have to memorize this, but I will, again, let you know what is important, and you can always go back. That's why I really encourage you to listen to these lectures because they're important. You learn a lot of information, and I do another lecture also on the calculations exam, how many times you have to take it, what happens if you don't pass. We do have things called putting people on a level of improvement. All of these things are extremely important because I would like to know before going into a program. I mean, this is a very serious program, and I'm going to keep saying it because I constantly get students, and it's a hard word. I'm trying to put it into words that are, it's very hard to watch because we tell you here. We tell you at the orientation, we explain how important it is. Go to the lab, keep on top of your skills. All this will make sense when I do that lecture. Do this, really trying to give you the encouragement and how much time this is really going to take. And again, this is not to discourage you from anything, but this is not just this is hard. This is why not everybody can do this. I think many people can do this, but is it the right time in your life? That's the most important thing to me. If you're currently going through a divorce, for example, and you're really struggling, you're having depression, maybe that's not the best time right now to go into the program. I've seen that. That's what I'm giving as an example. But of course, I want you to apply. I want you in my classes. It's so amazing. I think, oh my God, I think I said this in the last one. I have like 6 of you from boot camp, and it's just so beautiful to see it. I think I even like teared up yesterday in clinical just watching it. Was just so beautiful. Okay, back to NCLEX. So the NCLEX is basically your test. Now, what's important, and now you do need to know this, okay? So when I say that means like jot down like a note, because it's probably going to be on a quiz or a test. The NCLEX tests you for safety. Are you going to be a safe nurse? The amount of questions, they've been changing it since COVID. It's usually like the minimum, and I'm so sorry, and I will say that right here, and I will not quiz you on this. The minimum for LPN, I always get confused because I teach it like all the programs, is either 75 or 85. That's the minimum. And then like max is 285. Meaning, as you're going through, the computer it's called a computer adaptive test. It's reading you. So you need to get 50% correct above the critical thinking line. So there's like 4 different types of questions, right? So basically, it's not information of, hey, what's a normal blood pressure? No, that's not a critical thinking question. A critical thinking question is you need to know the blood pressure, then the question's asked, you need to apply the information you know about the blood pressure and then answer it. So 50%, if you get 50% of those correct, you pass. And at let's say it's just 85. At 85, if that's your minimum amount, or 75, again, I apologize, I'm human as well, and it will shut off. And most people will gasp and, oh my God, I failed. I have only met one person that has ever said they walked out of that test feeling like they did good. They passed. Myself included, and I passed all of my NCLEX that I have. I passed on the first try, LVN, RN, all my certification. It just, for whatever reason, it's a very stressful time, of course, as you can imagine. And so how it works is it'll either turn off at 85 or 75 for 2 reasons. Number one, the questions and the computer have decided, you know what, this individual we consider to be safe. They answered enough questions correctly, we consider them to be safe, or they answered so low, or that sounded rude, I don't mean it to be that way, but low enough that, you know what, we can't do it. However, if you're at a baseline where it's kind of like, we're not sure, they're going to give you more questions. That's why you can go up to like 285. So most people that I've talked to, they tend to get more anxious and they're like, oh my God, I'm getting more questions. You know what? If you're getting more questions, you're in the game. You're still in the game. You didn't fail. So I hope you remember that statement that I just made. You're still in the game. So really wrapping this up, because this is what I really wanted you to know, and then you can of course ask questions if you have more. The NCLEX is a examination that you take at the end of your nursing. Of course, you'll study for it. There's books. You take practice questions. We help you throughout the program doing NCLEX questions. We do we help prep you for it as well at the end of your 3rd semester. And basically, it's there to see. It gives you your license. So then you get your license, and then you can be a nurse. So I don't want to go on too long because one thing that was stated I'm very transparent in my reviews is that because I really love to, I could talk about this for 2 hours. I'm going to keep it a little more in brevity. So if you feel I didn't answer something or you have more questions, if you're on tonight, please ask. Also, let me know through Canvas. Email is definitely best for me, or text if it's more like, oh my God, I must know right now. But I did want to mention, because we did talk, I gave you some examples of questions, and we'll probably do some, I like to add these in here and there. But that's all I really wanted to say. I just wanted to, again, keep in touch base, have you hear my voice. I'm still human, I'm here. And again, I will be signing on at 5 p.m., no later than 6. We'll have an hour. If you guys come, I'll wait for like 10 minutes. And if not, then that means that you guys are where you need to be, or not where you need to be, but you don't have any questions or don't need to have any conversations. So far so good. And I really appreciate everybody in the class and, turning in your work and communicating with me. And I just want you to know that I am always here, and I hope to see you very soon in our nursing program. So I'm going to end it here, and I will get this uploaded. Thank you so much.